please, Mr. Duncan, Mr. Hou Yanqing, and Professor Yuan Jiahai, and Ms. Guo Hongyu, and Ms. Zhu Zhu, and also, what's your name? Mr. An, okay. Mr. An from Vietnam, please come to the platform and take your seat. Miss Su Zhu, Hong Yu.不是，你可以看这个。嗯。
It's on. It's on.
Who?
你这旁边有人吗？那就在这儿吧。可以了。
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. And we will start the session on Belt and Road Initiative, NDC, and Green Development. My name is Fu Qiangyang. I'm Senior Advisor for NRDC China Program. So this afternoon, I would like to chair this panel discussion. We all know the Belt and Road Initiative is Chinese trying to promote the world economical development. But at this moment is quite important behind us is how can we protect the environment and also cut CO2 reduction emissions. We all understand BRI is present a very good opportunity for other countries and also including China and to implement our NDC and also to degree scenarios. And also we like to protect the local environment and also help the local to have a higher, the more people and also for the community economical development. Today we are very happy to invite a sixth panel and to discuss about this. And I would like to use one word is BRI, that is based on the principle global community will share the future. So we will work together and to make a beautiful world. So first I would like to invite Mr. Duncan, and he is a Secretary General of China Green Carbon Foundation. Mr. Duncan has worked on the forestry and ecological system protection for decades. And he is well known in this area in China. Now he's devoted his life to demonstrate how can we reduce the mitigation, also is protect the environment and ecological system. Mr. Deng, now floor is yours. And so you will deliver opening remarks.
尊敬的女士们、先生们，大家下午好。首先， 作为主办方的代表，我向出席由中国绿色碳汇基金会、美国自然资源保护协会联合主办的“一带一路”背景下国家绿色发展的自主贡献研讨会的演讲嘉宾、各国的代表表示热烈的欢迎。
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of China Green Carbon Foundation and our partner TNC, I would like to express my gratitude and warm welcome to your attending. Today, we will focus on China's green development with its contribution to address global climate change under the Belt and Road Initiative, which proposed by Chinese President Xi Jinping.
今天我们会议的主题涉及“一带一路”国家的绿色发展和应对气候变化自主贡献。大家都知道，“一带一路”战略是由中国国家主席习近平先生提出来的，得到了100多个国家和国际组织的积极响应和全力的支持。已经有40多个国家和国际组织同中国签署了相关的合作协议，带动了相关国家经济的提速发展，振兴了世界经济复苏的信心。“一带一路”倡议来自中国，但是必将惠及全世界。
As we know that the Belt and Road Initiative has been receiving positive support from more than 100 countries and international organizations, which over 40 organizations of them have confirmed the cooperation agreement with China, and the initiative is not only benefit the world economy development, but also boosted the people's confidence for the better life.
中国林业致力于服务“一带一路”的战略，为沿线经济体提供生态修复的经验与范例。中国国家林业局明确提出了“一带一路”的防沙治沙必须坚持生态措施、生物措施、工程措施相结合，生态修复和人工治理相结合，加强固沙治沙、沙化土地封禁保护、建设沙漠公园等措施。
China Forestry Department is committed to serve the Belt and Road strategy. We could provide economy restoration experiences and examples for countries along it. Chinese State Forestry Administration made it clear that the Belt and Road Initiative must adhere to the scientific measure to strengthen the sand control and desertification protection and desert park construction.
丝绸之路经济带的生态修复和重建、防沙治沙必须先行。我们将用5年左右的时间治理沙化土地1000万公顷，着力构建点线片面相结合的固沙阻沙屏障。
Along the Silk Road, we adhere to desert control and management should be priority to measure the ecological restoration. So, we plan to use 5 years to deal with 10 million hectares of desert land.
中国绿色碳汇基金会作为中国国内首家以应对气候变化为主要目标的公募基金会，自2010年7月成立以来，募集资金9000多万美元，在中国20个省区营造和参与管理碳汇林8万多公顷，同时支持和开展其他林业应对气候变化公益活动。为服务“一带一路”战略，中国绿色碳汇基金会在肯尼亚、埃塞俄比亚、喀麦隆、莫桑比克等国家开展了林业碳汇、森林可持续经营、竹林碳汇项目开发培训等等工作。
China Green Carbon Foundation was approved by the central government and founded at 2010, and to be the first nationwide nonprofit welfare fund to combat climate change. In the past 7 years, CGCF has raising more than $90 million granted to more than 20 provinces in China for 80,000 hectares of carbon forest construction and other relative forestry activities in response to climate change. To solve the Belt and Road Initiative, the CGCF will grant to Kenya, Ethiopia, Cameroon, and Mozambique for supporting their capacity building, including carbon forest construction, sustainable forest management, bamboo forest sequestration projects.
今天的研讨会将通过不同国家、不同机构的案例，分享我们的研究成果，探讨"一带一路"经济体实现国家自主贡献的科学途径。希望通过这次研讨会的举办，让我们凝聚共识，携手合作，共同努力，为创建"一带一路"沿线经济体的良好生态环境和应对气候变化做出独特的贡献。最后，预祝研讨会取得圆满成功。谢谢大家。
Later on, we will share the cases study from different countries and agencies, share our research and explorations during our work. We hope that we can work more closely to make unique contribution for better ecological environment, and facilitate economy along the Belt and Road region. Finally, I wish that we can get even close and very good, successful in the future. Thank you so much.
谢谢。
Thanks, Mr. Tan. Now in this CUP, we organize a 6th session on the Belt and Road Initiative. And this is the first one. And we'd like to talk about the power sector development along these countries. And so we understand our priority is develop energy efficiency and renewables. And in some cases, if some country have no other resources available, so we can help them and work with them to build a high efficient and other resources power plan. So now I would like to use a couple of minutes. Everybody have half minutes and to introduce yourself. So can we start from left side?
Hello everyone, I'm Hongyu Guo from Green Innovation Hub, a local NGO from China working on climate change, green finance, overseas investment, and ocean conservation. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks.
Hi everybody, my name is Nguyễn Tuấn Anh. I am Deputy Director General of the Environmental Department in the Ministry of Planning Investment of Vietnam. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Jia Haiyuan. I'm a professor from North China Electric Power University, and my field is on China's power sector policy. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Hou Yuanqing from China Green Carbon Foundation. I'm Deputy Director of the Project Development and Research Department. I have working in the forestry addressing climate change and the forest carbon project development for more than 10 years, and expecting to combine with benefits about forestry addressing climate change efforts, help everyone we can cooperate together in the future and to build a very good world. Thank you.
Now, first, I would like to invite Mr. Hou Yuanqing to have present on contribution of forestry on climate change in One Belt and Road initiatives. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yang. Today, my topic is forestry contributes to low carbon reform, promote green sustainable development. As we know, forests are the important terrestrial carbon pool. And it's also, deforestation is also an important carbon emission sources. We know there are a lot of the emission, but forest deforestation is also a very important part. According to IPCC report, afforestation, agriculture, and forestry relative emission more than 24%. So the function of forestry is very important. It's not only for the climate change mitigation, but it's also relative to the ecosystem services. It's affect to the affect to the climate change adaptation. here we go. We saw the forestry has already been paid more attention during the COP, during the meeting. And at the first beginning in the 1997, the Kyoto Protocol, as a mechanism of the trading, forestry is the first, including the CDM-AR project development. And in the 2013, REDD Plus Action Framework released, and a lot of countries promoting these actions together. And in 2015, in Paris Agreement, NDCs including forestry. And yesterday, we're talking about Chinese delegation representative of China, and he told us this year in Bonn, forestry will be a hot topic, and they will talking a lot during our precise. So we hope in the this year in Bonn there will be a lot of achievement about forestry addressing climate change. The Paris Agreement, everybody know, emphasized the forest multiple benefits in coordination. Here we can highlight in Paris Agreement, our party shall take actions to preserve and enhance the forest carbon pool and the ability of forest carbon sequestration, promoting developing countries implemented and support REDD Plus program, promote forestry mitigation and adaptation functions in a coordinative way, developing multiple benefits, forest management mechanism, emphasize non-carbon benefits from forestry for addressing climate change. This is a very highlight about the forestry in Paris Agreement, and we shall take actions together. I will briefly introduce China's efforts, contribution to global environmental governance. Chinese government take a lot effort since last century. One part is forest restoration, desertification control, wetland conservation, biodiversity conservation, and addressing climate change. Chinese take a lot of effort since last century. We planting increase or vegetation area, and right now the forestry coverage is more than 21.63% of the territory, and the forest stock volume is 50.2 billion cubic meters. Here you can see the numbers, and the numbers still are increasing. According to FAO report released in 2015, China has been one of the countries in the world the forest area increasing in the world. And for the Chinese government, we set up the NDCs and forest measures, including in the Chinese NDC. The goal by 2020, increase forest area by 40 million hectares and forest stock volume by 1.3 billion cubic meters from the level from 2005. And the goal 2013, forest stock volume increase 4.5 billion cubic meters compared to the level of 2005. So it is also ambitious goals, but we are doing a lot of efforts to increase our forest coverage, and hope we can do more to achieve this goal. And the State Forestry Administration released a lot of the policy and action plan this 5 years. the forestry development during the 13th 5-year plan, the forestry action plan to addressing climate change, and the white book, and the action guide of combating climate change on forestry in 13th 5 years. Chinese has already do a lot of contribution to addressing global climate change in forestry. We developed the first methodology about reforestation and forests in the world, and also the first CDM-AR project developed in China, Guangxi province in 2005. We're developing the first carbon project methodology for participating in the forest carbon trading, developing forest carbon accounting system and methods. Various forestation, forest management project combined with multiple benefits, mitigation and adaptation works has already carried on. Also biodiversity conservation and habitat restoring together. Right now, we promote CCER, afforestation, reforestation project in China, domestic carbon trading market, and combined with CCB standards and participate voluntary carbon standard, etc. Here we can say the 4 methodology developed by China Green Carbon Foundation and our partners together. The methodology on afforestation or carbon sequestration, methodology on bamboo afforestation for carbon sequestration, methodology on forest management for carbon sequestration, and the methodology for bamboo management. So these are all these 4 methodology can be used in China's domestic carbon trading market, and we are hoping to in the future other countries can refer to our achievements and to do a lot for its carbon and for its management work and demonstration in the world. Here are the main field of action of forestry addressing climate change. For the mitigation, we are 5 key area: afforestation, for forestry bioenergy, forest management, forest resources conservation, forest industry, wetland restoration. For the adaptation, in 3 key ecosystem: the forest ecosystem, desert ecosystem, and wetland ecosystem. In the last 5 years, the state forestry administration cooperates a lot of partners together. We successfully established China's first carbon accounting system. Right now, we can do in provincial level, national level, all of the forestry accounting. We know exact numbers about forestry contribution to the climate change. For the 1 Belt 1 Road, we have these suggestions. Understanding and study the forestry status of Belt Road countries, combined with advantage of China forestry experience and best practice. China and the Belt Road countries can build up forestry cooperation platform mechanism to promote multi-win perspective. Here is a main field. I hope we can take actions in the next step. For the 1 road, you know the Silk Road from Asia to Europe. It's most of the ecosystem is arid semi-arid area. China has working a lot on the desertification control. So this kind of best practice we can introduce to the one road area and do a lot of desert control and semi-arid areas restoration work. For the one bite, most of the countries are the Southeast Asia, South Asia, and the eastern part of Africa and the Mediterranean area. And we think that for the bamboo and the forest restoration work will be introduced to this part of world. Part of countries and help the local communities increase their incomes and restore their forestry ecosystem. We hope to build up the policy and international cooperation framework, technology and information exchange, cooperation exchange and practice from China to the world. Set up the foreign trade service platform for the forestry. And just I have mentioned that desertification control and arid semi-arid practice to the world. Also very important experience is a real setting by the airplane, and we succeed in not only in the north part of China, but also in the south part of China. A lot of areas have been green for decades. We will hope to enhance international cooperation for wildlife and wetland conservation, biodiversity hotspot conservation across continent and ocean. We hope to do the flagship species preservation need international cooperation together, protecting our wetland ecosystem and wildlife habitat, restore them. Also, combating the illegal wildlife trading, combating the illegal logging and the relative trade is also our hope in the one by one road. For the forestry addressing climate change and low carbon development, we hope in the one by one road section, we can introduce Chinese or experience of forest carbon project development and bamboo forest development. And perhaps in the future, we can cooperate together to do some urban forest carbon projects for enhanced cities adaptation facing the desert. Here is my summary. The one by one road is a great strategy for the world. And we hope open regional international cooperation spirit, promoting low carbon development and the forestry industry is the key to solve the global eco-environmental problem. Global problem, global actions. And my Secretary General has already introduced my organization. We hope with our effort, we establish the fundraising channel together and the fundraising for not only for China but also for the one by one road countries take action together in the future. And this is my presentation today. Hope we can cooperate in the future. And okay, thank you very much.
Thanks. Next speaker is Professor Yuan Jiahai on green power development along Belt and Road countries.
It's my great pleasure being here this afternoon. Let me introduce a little by my work in China. I have been working very closely with NGOs like Natural Resource Defense Council, Greenpeace, and the Energy Foundation of China to working on China's coal power sector policy. And now the Chinese government came to realize that we no longer need so many new coal power plants. And in last year and this year, at least 200 gigawatt new coal power projects are cancelled or delayed. So my topic here today is I want to make it clear that what the cost relation that China is experiencing will not be happened in BRI regions. So that is my key point of my presentation. So let's start from the BRI countries. We know that in these regions, because of the inadequate social and economic development, power supply is still a key issue. It is among the key minimum sustainable development targets for these countries. And with 500 million people without access to electricity service, per capita electricity consumption in these countries is much lower than global average. So the implication is that the future growth, the potential for future growth will be very, very bigger, but we got to make clear that how to manage or balance the energy demand, social economic development, and the NDC commitment in these countries. China just accomplished the full access of electric service to its full population only recently. For such a huge country with 1.3 billion people, I think it's a great accomplishment. And also, I sincerely believe that China's experience in delivering it can be a freshly experience to be reproducible to BRI countries. In terms of per capita capacity installation, more than 30 countries, the capacity per capita is much, much lower than a global average, which means that, but on the same time, BRI regions are unfortunately regions with very, very high air pollution issues as well as water pressure issues. So another implication here is that when these countries are working out their energy development plan, they got to properly balance the energy need while adhere to its local ecological and environmental carrying capacity. I want to list just one country, for example, India. The current emission inventory of India is about 2 billion gigaton. And if with its business euro scenarios into 2030, its total emissions will grow as high as 4 billion gigaton. But if India can try to know its carbon factors of power sector from currently more than 800 grams per kilowatt hours to less than 600 per kilowatt hours, its NDC target can be properly realized. So the challenge is very, very huge. On the one side, India must try to diversify its fuel mix. On the other hand, same as China, India has a very high share of coal power in its power generation mix. So how to improve its power generation efficiency in its inefficient coal fleets is a huge, huge challenge for India in my thinking. So let's talk about the green power capacity, the green power cooperation mechanism in BRI regions, I think the first priority is energy efficiency, and then the second point is low carbon. With low carbon, I mean, first of all, we got to have to use available and affordable renewable energies at best, while on the same hand, we got to use, if it is a must, clean and efficient coal power. And in the specific deployment pathways for renewable energy development, in China, we have very serious lessons is we want to develop renewables like traditional hydropower or coal power, and it tend to be a huge mistakes. So in my perspective, especially in BRI regions where grid facilities is always a problem, distributed renewable development could be a top priority in these regions. And also, with regards to coal power, for the first priority should be try to retrofitting existing inefficient units. If new units has to be built for satisfying energy demand, we must strict the highest standards with proper consideration of the environment pollution controls and as well as the water resource considerations. Now let's take little about China's experience in energy efficiency. Now China is the world's largest energy efficiency market. A recent IEA report said that actually the social value of energy efficiency in China can account about $1 trillion. So it is a huge contribution to social economic development. And China's energy efficiency policy, I think, can also be communicated and reproducible to BRI countries. For example, China set up a national energy efficiency responsibility and management system. And also China has implemented very strict energy efficiency standards, especially in the manufacturing sectors. Also, China used a lot of efforts to promoting energy efficiency technology and products, especially the green appliance. Another few words on China's coal power, because coal power by itself represents a huge potential for China to make improvement. In 1975, China manufactured its first domestic 300 megawatt supercritical units. And in 30 years, after 30 years, China managed to produce its own 300 megawatt ultra supercritical units. And then, with just 10 years, China managed to manufacture its own 1,000 megawatt units, which is the state-of-the-art coal power technology in the world. And with efforts to retrofitting old units and building state-of-the-art new technology, now China's coal power sector's generation efficiency is on the top of in the world, which is comparable to the coal plants in Germany. And also, with regards to emission control standards, I think China takes definitely the #1 in the world with its zero emission pollution control technologies. So if BRI regions must, and certain circumstances, build new technologies, we propose a very stricter technical standards of green coal power to be developed in these regions. For countries like India, Indonesia, and Pakistan, I mean, with a large power system, we propose to use only the USC technologies, and the technologies of subcritical can be used in small power systems, and also should be proven as the best available technology in these countries. Let's forget about these ugly pictures, and I just want to move to the second one is, if we score different BRI countries with its environmental constraints, from air quality, from water resources, and from its NDC commitment, we propose most strict standards of coal power in most of the BRI countries. I want to also raise another case of Pakistan. Pakistan, currently there are nearly 4 million people without access to power supply. And also, there is a gap of about 4 gigawatt in peaking load demand. On the other hand, oil and gas account about 65 in Pakistan's total power generations, and also 9 loss here is very high. So we can see that capacity growth in this country in the past years didn't grow very quickly. And now China's cooperation with Pakistan will add 6 power projects with a total capacity of about 12 gigawatts, which the meaning is that it will add at least 50% of its current power supply capability in just a few years. So consider about it, I think it can contribute a lot to Pakistan's social and economic development. So let me wrap up with some policy implications. I think, first of all, power sector or power industry can be a breakthrough of environmental governance in BRI initiatives. And secondly, we propose to establish a BRI Green Power Cooperation Platform, because we don't want that what kind of technology to be investment should be a pure outcome of market results. It should be fall into the public governance. And thirdly, we should to make our financial system work properly to make sure that this heavy pollutant coal power cannot get proper financial support, and also renewable energies can get most of the new funding in energy development. And finally, we should establish a supervision standards, a strict standards for the coal power investment. Okay, so that is my presentation. Thank you.
Thanks. And after presentation, and we have a Q&A session. And now I'd like to invite Mr. Guo Hongyu and talking about on BRI power sector investment under Paris Agreement restrictions and opportunities. And floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Yang. Hello, everyone. I'd like to share some of our thoughts and initial research findings about the BRI power sector investment under the Paris Agreement. What are the opportunities and what are the constraints? Next page, please. Okay. Thank you. We all know that we are passing the time from words to action now, and the Paris Agreement implementation is the key. And we know that Paris Agreement has set the global target, global temperature goals, and also to encourage the financial flow to be consistent or in line with the Paris Agreement temperature goal. But how to do that, and what are the building blocks for this framework? The first one is we think Paris Agreement is good in that it encourages a widest engagement from the countries and from its bottom-up mechanism approach. And also the key elements, the NDCs, will be submitted every 5 years, regardless of their respective timeframes. And also the Paris Agreement has in itself a ratchet-up mechanism, which is the 2023 global stocktake. However, we know that we have this kind of ratchet-up mechanism because the current NDCs, the countries' pledges are far from sufficient to achieve the Paris Agreement implementation target. And I think the recent report from the UNEP or the previous reports from the UN synthesis report about the NDCs have made it clear. And another challenge is not every country have submitted their NDCs yet. So some of countries don't have their plan to actually implement the Paris Agreement. And for those who have submitted the NDC, a huge emission reduction gap exists. And so the current NDCs will only bring us to a 2.6 or even over 3-degree world. And to tackle this kind of challenges, we think that apart from the UNCCC framework, which countries meet every year, we think and also the Paris Agreement gives another opportunity with this bottom-up approach for other platforms to engage, like the multilateral cooperation platform or the role of nations or non-state actors becoming more and more important. So just a brief overview, like the South-South Climate Cooperation and also G20 or G7, and also the Belt and Road Initiative we were talking about today. And I think some of our previous speakers have introduced that this initiative was introduced in 2013 to promote the cooperation in policy, in trade, in investment, and in civil, in exchanges between societies. And however, there are also concerns about this initiative and unclear about this initiative. And there are questions about whether this initiative will be another strategy by China's going out strategy to export its overcapacity or excess overcapacity, and or whether this initiative could help to promote more friendly, environmental friendly and low carbon investment, and finally to contribute or to help China and other developing countries along this initiative to achieve its climate goals and on SDGs in the long term. And so with these questions, we start to conduct a research about the how the Belt and Road Initiative could contribute, or what are the limits and opportunities facing the initiative posed by our global climate action or commitment. And we choose, as Asia has become one of the fastest growing source of carbon emissions now and in the future. In the Southeast Asia, energy consumption will have doubled in the past 25 years, and this trend will continue. And the electricity demand will also increase and become the main contributor of the energy consumptions and emissions. So it is urgent for us to find a way to tackle this and use clearer and more efficient technologies for Southeast Asia to reduce either both the local pollution and also the climate greenhouse gas targets. And there's estimates that as Asia is facing the challenges of meeting its energy demand or providing energy access, and also to fulfilling its climate targets, there are like 2.5 trillion worth US dollars investment demand on infrastructure for energy supply in this region by 2040. And this huge market could be a great opportunity for the region to seek or explore the low carbon development pathway. And the recent report from the UNEP, just a glance, without policy intervention, Asia's power sector will drive its CO2 emissions up, and we can see that the Asian countries, the planned or approved coal power plants are mainly from Asia, East Asia, South Asia, and Southeast Asia. So we have we are still doing this research, and we hope to, through our analysis and findings, to promote the BRI investment to align with the pathway necessary to achieve the 2 degree or even the 1.5 degree temperature goals. And also we'd like to select some countries and assess their demand for energy transition in their NDCs. And also we would like to explore, and by this we will set the baselines for the BRI investment. And also we'd like to explore potential to go beyond their NDCs and help or to support the developing countries to better achieve their NDC and collectively closing the gap of achieving the Paris Agreement. And as mentioned, we chose the key region as Asia because Asia is quite, on the one hand, Asia is one of the most vulnerable region to climate change impacts. The 6 of the top 10 most vulnerable countries are from Asia. And also China's investment along the Belt and Road region is increasing, and especially in the power sector and infrastructure sector. And also, as mentioned, the Asian country in Asia, the energy mix is still dominated by fossil fuels, and how to accelerate the transition from the fossil fuels to clean energy is a challenge for the region and the world. So we think this is a great opportunity that we could use the Belt and Road initiative to explore a new or innovative way of cooperation and development. Because the Belt and Road is positioned itself as building a green Silk Road, but what is the definition for green, and what is the standards for the green technologies, that is still need to be answered. And we chose the key countries. We chose Vietnam, Indonesia, Pakistan, and India. As Vietnam is going from hydro to coal in its to meet its increasing energy demand, and Indonesia has also a huge big plan for coal, and while Pakistan is like one of the China and Pakistan have cooperated a lot on the Belt and Road Initiative, so there are already many projects, and we want to evaluate how that project, how those projects are going, whether it's in line with the environmental or climate targets or standards. And India is also a big country in energy transition of the world. So as for the sector, we choose the power sector in specific. And just to give a brief review of the country case of Vietnam, but I think the more will come from our next speaker. We can see from 2011 to 2014, Vietnam's coal have developed really rapidly in Vietnam, and previously hydropower have been the main power source for Vietnam, and then the natural gas, and recently coal power share has increased by 6%, and due to this coal use increase, it's the total CO2 intensity of the power sector have increased from its previous to by 53%, and of the carbon intensity of the electricity generation in total has also increased. And in the next 15 years, Vietnam will be the one, like the top 4 power investment country, attracting the investment in power sector. And Vietnam has submitted its NDC, and also based on its NDC targets, revised its power development plan during the period of 2011 to 2020. And we can see Vietnam have unconditional contribution and conditional contribution with international support. And we can see that with the international support, the contribution could rise from 8% to 25%. And in Vietnam's revised power development plan have dialed down its target to develop coal power plants from previous 75 gigawatts to 55 gigawatts, and also to reflect the government's commitment to tackle climate change. However, we can still see that in NDC, Vietnam's power sector will still undergo a transition from hydro to coal, as the hydro resources have met its limit gradually. The 2030 analysis of its NDC could show that by 2030, the power consumption will grow and grow substantially, and this increased capacity will mainly come from coal, and coal power plant will rise from 10 gigawatts in 2014 to 55 gigawatts. And the estimated investment demand will be $200 billion US, with coal accounting for 34%, and renewables 30%, and the grid development 26%. And we also explore opportunities that through the cooperation between China and Vietnam under the Belt and Road Initiative on energy efficiency improvement, and also the increasing renewable energy investment. Through the energy efficiency improvement, we could actually further reduce the power consumption, and if we achieve that, and if the reduced demand will be cut to the coal capacity, then the extra new coal development could further reduce, and the coal power's share in the overall mix could also further go down. And also by increasing the investment on renewable energies, like to exploit resources in small hydro, the solar and bioenergy, the renewable energy could also, its share could also rise from 29% to 33%. And this kind of improvement could help reduce the need to build more new coal power plants. And with this, we could reduce the new coal demand by 11 gigawatts. And then with the increased renewable investment, the reduced carbon emission, we will also achieve carbon emission reduction. This is just a preliminary analysis. That is, as coal will be the major source of new power generation in Vietnam, we still think that BRI investment could be an opportunity for China and Vietnam to find a way to improve the current coal power technology. That is, if the existing plan for the new coal could use the state-of-art technology and also through capacity cooperation, then we could minimize the carbon emissions from the coal development. And then also there's huge potential in Vietnam in renewable energies to help close the emission gap and also to accelerate Vietnam's energy transition. And with all this said, we think that policy intervention is quite important. That is from the from the government, both from China and Vietnam, could work together to find to send some policy signals to shift this investment trend to the low carbon or to the low carbon fuels, and to further enhance the ambition of the next NDCs after the global stocktake. And this is for the Vietnam country study. And for the overall Belt and Road Initiative, we also look at other countries like Pakistan, Indonesia, and India. And we think that as Belt and Road Initiative is a global cooperation, we think it's necessary and also urgent for China to also develop some overall strategy on its energy, on its investment in infrastructure in energy, and to ensure that the Belt and Road investment are actually in line with the Paris Agreement, rather than breaching other countries' climate and environmental targets. This is my sharing, and I look forward to the discussions in the afterward.
Thanks. I'm happy to invite a distinguished speaker, Mr. Tuan Anh from Vietnam. He will talk about the Vietnam and China energy conservation cooperation case, planning and investment. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Next to the previous presentation, I would like to share with you some options for Vietnam China energy cooperation under Belt and Road Initiative. In generally, I agree with the previous studies about the importance of the energy sector in the implementing in the way how Vietnam implementing to achieve the Paris Agreement. Before the Paris Agreement in Vietnam, we also doing the calculation policy interventions to prepare the green growth action plans for Vietnam, and we also realized that the energy sector is the challenge for Vietnam. And when the in the Paris, the delegation of Vietnam coming to Paris with the Prime Minister of Vietnam. There is on the right hand side him always the Minister of the Industry coming with the Prime Minister coming to Paris. It shows that to achieve the commitment in Paris, the Prime Minister of Vietnam need the Minister of the Industry. It's the most. Yeah. And his responsibility also is have to help Vietnam to ongoing to go ahead with the Green Goal Action Plan, low carbon policies, as well as the CO2 emission reduction. Let me start with the slide showing the planned electricity output by full in the revised the 7 power development plan. It show in official figures by Ministry of Trade and Industry. The coal power generation is shown in the brown color. The natural gas is in the yellow, and hydro in blue, and new term of the another renewable energy is in green. It is the showing in the updated power plan. However, now currently in Vietnam we have the also internal discussion within the Ministry of Industry about more update of this one. They will prepare in the next plan. It is the plan 8, which this we hope that the green one have to be increased comparing with these figures. Here brown is the biggest. After that the hydro and green energy is very small share. It is the still discussion in Vietnam on the next revising of this one. However, based on the currently version, Vietnam renewable energy would like to achieve in the 2020 and aim to 2030 about yes, thank you. Yeah, about 6 gigawatt of the wind to 2030. Solar power is the 20 gigawatt in 2030, and biomass also aim to 2% in 2030. It is the current aim, and I have to say that in generally Vietnam can be considered as a country with the high solar energy potential. The solar resources are comparable in countries like Italy, Spain, California, or Thailand. And you can see on the left-hand map produced with the help of Spanish government in the collaboration with Vietnamese Ministry of Industry and Trade in 2015. Especially the southern part of Vietnam is suitable to uptake the solar power. Vietnam is also assumed to have a good potential for wind energy sources, since it has more than 3,000 kilometers of the coastal line and is located in the monsoon climate zone. The map on the right-hand side show, for instance, the measurement conducted by National University of Civil Engineering in 2014. Since there are significant differences in data provided in different agencies, more studies are needed to compare the accurate pictures of Vietnam in the wind energy potential. Investment need. In the previous presentation, there are also some numbers estimated, and in generally around 150 billion US dollars. We need for entire period from 2016 until to 2030, and 75% of them for power generation and 25% for power network development. Currently, the Chinese investors presently in Vietnam appear interested mainly in coal power generation. In initial investment into assembly plants for PV panel, such as the Bảo Việt solar technology, about 700 employers. GA solar assembly plants expected to generate over 3,000 jobs. It is the two Chinese companies on the PV panel. In conclusion, in Vietnam, the key investment choices are based primarily on the levelized cost of electricity and availability of private capital. Currently, most Chinese investment interested appear mainly in coal power. The thermal power plants have the life cycle of 30 years. Difficulty to judge the future interests of Chinese investors in long-term horizon. They may be influenced by China's negotiation within the UNFCCC. So for those some slides, I hope that I can contribute in the side event of the Belt and Road Initiative, which Vietnam is the one of country member, and we believe that we can. There are a time for talking between the two Chinese investors as well as the Vietnamese government, Ministry of Industry and Trade, how to most benefits make the Vietnam most benefit from the BIR in the way that we can contribute to the NDC implementing for Vietnam to 2030. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Now we have 18 minutes, have question and answers. And if you have question, please first state your name and organizations. Now, who will go first? Please.
Thank you, the chair, and all the speaker. I highly appreciate your initiative to organize this side event, and I would like to have a question for the second speaker. I see that you have analysis about and also recommendation what are the priority for the BRI country in the power sector, and I agree that the first priority should be given to the energy efficiency. However, I see that if we put the priority in improving the efficiency in the coal power sector, it may not help to achieve the target for the climate goal, because you increase the energy efficiency. As I remember, you recommend to use on ultra super technology, but from my understanding, please correct me if I'm wrong, that that technology have to maybe improve or to have to treat for SO2 or NOx, but not for carbon CO2. So I think that, and also recommend that maybe the recommendation for the power sector, why not we recommend to move for renewable, because China is leading in renewable energy development, and it also helps to reduce the cost for this technology. So that is my question.
Good afternoon. I'm Camila Moreno, a researcher at the Federal Rural University of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. Now, my question, I was puzzled that you presented for Vietnam a projected share of almost 6% for nuclear, so 5.7. So I'd like to hear from the panel, how do you see in BRI countries the prospect for nuclear and how this plays in your plan?
Yes, thanks for your questions. There could be a little misunderstanding here. When I'm talking about energy efficiency, I talk mostly on the end-use efficiency, which means that we got to use the state-of-the-art technology and measures try to save electricity, save energy. When I'm talking about coal power plants retrofitting, I mean that if we have options to build new coal plants and upgrading the existing one, should take priority because in most BRI countries, the existing coal fleets are not that efficient enough, and China's past experience, especially since the turn of the century, to shut down nearly 100 gigawatt small units and upgrading nearly until now 600 gigawatt existing units, and effectively increase the general efficiency from the coal units from more than 360 kilogram GCE per kilowatt hours to around 310 as the past right now. So that's my key point is final use energy efficiency priority, and then is renewable energies. But when talking about renewable energies, I just want to say, because right now we have very, very encouraging case like very, very low cost. For example, in Dubai or in Abu Dhabi, that the wholesale power generation cost from solar power can be as low as 2 cents US dollars per kilowatt hours. But what can make this successful case successful is that we have a very strong national energy policy support, we have free land, and more importantly, we have very, very low interest rate for this project. That's why I call for a green finance mechanism to support the green power development in BRI regions. And also a little bit more about the nuclear policy. You know that China is currently trying to import nuclear technology to countries, and I believe that the first concern regarding nuclear certainly is security or safety, right? And the second concern should be is economic competitiveness. I believe that the market edge for nuclear in the coming decades is not that bright because the generation third technology is just too expensive and is security concern or security design is not proven right now. Yeah. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, the second question related with the in a share there is 5.7% of total is the nuclear. It is the power plant 7. As I explained, as I said, currently they are preparing in Vietnam. Ministry of Industry is preparing for development Development Plan 8. That means the government of Vietnam decided not to go to for nuclear in I think that's in the previous years, 1 or 2 years. That means they have to change from the nuclear to another source of the electricity, either coal or renewable. They are discussing on this, and since the technology of the solar is reduced, and the Vietnamese government changing the feed and tariff for solar. Currently, the solar is the one option for Vietnam. They are preparing many studies to find out the another source to replace the nuclear. And I think that's by the end of the by the mid of 2019, the Minister of Industry have to answer the final answer about the in Development Plan 8 about how Vietnam can meet the demand since we decided not to go for nuclear. Thank you.
Next questions.
Thank you, the speaker. I'm from Myanmar, and my understanding right now we are fighting against climate change. So the reason is carbon emission, how to reduce, how to close the carbon emission gap. So the countries in the world are now approaching the renewable energy. So in Myanmar case, in the case of Myanmar, energy assessment, the people are very poor because of without energy access. So the government want to develop to reduce poverty eradication, poverty alleviation. And on the other hand, we are suffering the climate change impact every year, because of carbon emission. So in this, I'd like to ask the panel, because of right now, I'm late arriving here, hydro to coal, to achieve something, if I wrong, please correct me, close the emission gap. So I'm confusing the idea, concept, hydro to coal. Our understanding, the coal is a very intensive carbon emission. If compare any source of the energy. So that is, could you please explain a little bit more what's your technology, to reduce emission from the coal power, if compare hydropower. A little bit, I'd like to ask the panel, what is your intervention to this regard? Because we need to understand if the technology is very high. The question asking by one lady, the technology carbon capture now to reduce carbon emission. So this is one example. So in that case, in the Chinese technology, do you have any the advanced technology to reduce the emission from coal power? Thank you.
I'm all with you on your points, and with regards to cutting emissions from coal power plants. Right now, the only cost-effective way is try to, use the state-of-the-art new technology. But additional carbon sequestration or storage is too costly everywhere. And we believe that right now the investment, the development, and the demonstration on the CCS technology globally is not enough. So if we can try to avoid investing in coal plants, that will be the first priority. And then with the existing coal plants, we got to figure out, the best from it, try to retrofit it into a more efficient way, because efficient means less energy consumption and less CO2 emissions. As I have noted, China's past 30 years experience on upgrading its coal technology, as well as a more efficient use of existing coal power plants, can be a fresh experience be shared in BRI countries. And I have little concern that, like this gentleman said, right now the Chinese companies are only interested in investing new coal plants in Vietnam. I just want to urge that these companies will also figure out new business models to do retrofitting business in these countries. I think it could be a wise and much better choice. That's my answer. Thank you.
Yeah, as for your question about the hydro to coal, I think it is. I understand is Vietnam's natural resources have been very rich in hydro, but in the recent years with the development, it has met the limit. Like while Vietnam's energy demand is increasing, so Vietnam is looking for new sources to provide power, energy access, and also to meet its increase. But it is true that as Vietnam is transitioning, its carbon intensity of the power sector is increasing. So this is the challenge. And also, I think what we have come to a recommendation on this is one is to increase the energy efficiency in the end user of the end users. That is to reduce the energy demand of the nation. And then, if Vietnam has to build new coal, it has to count into the factor that, or it has to come with a room and also the consideration of the use of CCS in the future. So that will automatically increase the cost of that coal power plants with this kind of combination of the CCS technology, and then this will increase when the cost is increased. The market or the market performance or the competition against other energy sources like renewable energy resources will kind of reduce, and then there may be a level play field, but that's we recommend. That is, if you build new coal, you have to have the CCS technology in your design and in your cost. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, we miss one speaker, and she would like to talk more about renewables. Unfortunately, he didn't show up. But on the 11th, we have another session on the BRI that's focused on the renewable, and I hope you can join us. Okay, any other questions? Yeah. Because nobody asked us to leave.
All right. Hi there, my name is Lily Pike. I'm with China Dialogue, and I have a question for Yuan Zhaoshuo about the Pakistan cases you mentioned. I was wondering if you could describe the process that Chinese banks went through to decide to fund those projects, and is there a way of assessing whether or not those projects, whether or not there were other viable ways to provide power in those areas? Do you feel like that was a situation where there weren't any other options, and are there policies in place to make those kinds of assessments in BRI countries?
Wow, thanks for your questions. Actually, I didn't fully get your points, but yeah, thank you.
Hopefully the mic, okay,
Yeah.
there we go. My question is basically, you said that ideally coal-fired power plants will only be constructed by China in BRI countries under circumstances where there's no other alternative, no alternatives to build renewables.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you think the 6 coal-fired power plants there were, if there were other options, and generally if there are processes in place to evaluate when there is no other option.
Yeah, good questions. As we know, the current power generation capacity in Pakistan mostly is oil and gas, and which makes the power generation cost in this country very, very expensive. And on the other hand, Pakistan does have certain reserve of coal resources. So I think we can understand that this country are keen to provide electricity access to its full population with its own resources and at a cost-effective way. That's one point. And the second point is now the Chinese company are investing roughly 8 gigawatt or 7 gigawatt coal plants in these countries. We must, on the other hand, make sure that all these investments are be conducted in an environmental friendly way, which means that we are not going to build several or pollutant, heavy pollutant coal plants in these countries. Actually, a case, Huber power plants that I know, the Chinese company, Huanan Group, actually used the state-of-the-art newest technology, and the emission control performance is comparable to China's domestic near zero standards. So, yeah. On the one hand, it is the market demand. On the other hand, we got to coordinate with the national government to figure out, a sustainable energy policy to guide the investment. And finally, that we should, in cooperation, to work out, mutually acceptable environmental and investment standards on this investment. Yes, that's my answer. Thank you.
Okay, we have to end here, and let's give a big applause to our panelists. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.